Do you do it all on the computer? What's your flow?
I do a little bit of everything. Okay, so a couple of those. I'm trying to think which question to answer first.
Yeah, I asked you about 10 there, so go ahead.
I'll do the writing thing and then help me figure out which one you want me to answer next. But as far as writing, I do work on a computer. I have 2 desks in my home because they're moving people, moving parts. It's got a lot of la boheme going on. I won't
and
get
you're a
into that.
producer too, so you got to have your producer table
So
and your
I've
creative.
got, I'm going back and forth, but I generally have one space that I write. However, the magical stuff really happens when I turn the computer off and say, I come to see you. That subway ride or that walk or however a person transports themselves, sometimes is the best writing ever because
That's how mine sometimes goes, but then sometimes I get back and then it's different again because you can't remember all. It's like
sometimes what I do is that if I do get something really nice in the subway or whatever, I might just scribble it down. Just a little note to remind myself. And if I lose it, I'm not worried about it
because it'll come back.
If it's meant to come back, it will. So I don't take many notes, but occasionally maybe I'll email myself something. And sometimes the email that I get the next morning when I look at it isn't that interesting, or it's like, oh my goodness,
it was better in my head yesterday.
But anyway, those things happen. The creative process doesn't necessarily happen at the computer.
Right. Now, this book, having the added thing of writing an interesting novel with wonderful character and wonderful experiences, but imparting this information or this line of thought.
Right.
And the line of thought of all Greek, that's a tall order. So how do you, sometimes I ask writers, do the characters just write themselves? Do you write them? But this is a little bit different. So was there a lot of obligatory, I really got to make sure that I get, how do you work that?
Okay, so Moody talked to me about at least 12 philosophers. That's too much for a novel for me.
Exactly.
Just being a simple person. So I picked 5, plus a link to somebody else who's really not completely in it, but I couldn't resist.
Right.
And what I do in my work is I create a character and the backdrop is going to support him or her. So the Moody information was to support a character who he hadn't told me about. But in my conversations with Dr. Moody and his wife and the 100 other people I've encountered around this time, we talked about love and loss a lot. And Dr. Moody's he's a grievance counselor, and that seemed to be the thing that would allow me to tell his information is through somebody who's grieving, which is one of the most profound human experiences, in my opinion, and in Dr. Moody's opinion as well.
Right. And the one that we all have the hardest time.
It's
rising
brutal.
above.
It's brutal.
And you have to do it many times in life. I mean,
it's not just once.
No, it's many, many times. So
it's brutal.
It's very challenging, and
that's a big thing for me. Is the brutality of it is very confusing because it's we know things, or we think we know them, and it should be easier given our beliefs or our knowings. So it's perplexing to me that it's so hard sometimes. It just
doesn't always get easier, even if you've experienced one. It's not like, okay, I'm better at this, but not really, because
it depends on who. Sometimes the person that leaves before you do inspires you, and you don't get depressed. And another person, you just completely can't walk out of the house. You know, it just depends on where you're at and where they were at and were they okay when they left. Were they